The Survivor specialist, Phil and Will, are back. Apologies for the slightly later start here. Will just spent, no joke, the last 5 minutes untangling his headphones. That was insane. That was a challenge within itself. You all right, bud?
Yeah, I mean, usually you can just kind of quickly unravel, just pull the buds through and the cord, and it's fine. This was like a serious. I don't know. They got seriously knotted up around it, so I don't know how that's possible in my pocket, but that's what happened. So yeah, well, we're a little delayed here, but that's not going to stop us from having a great podcast, Phil.
Yeah, I want to start off by saying, Will, do you still feel that nobody's going to figure out it was Genevieve?
I knew that was coming for sure. I think there's a chance they know that the Saul blindside was orchestrated by Genevieve. I mean, it happened at Tribal Council too. They just didn't air it until the previously on of this episode. So I'm going to give myself a little bit of a break there. Yeah, it was fully out. Everybody knew, and she made that move clearly way too early when she did not need to. However, I mean, it stands that like you have 4 2 members left in the game. One of them is going to go home before Genevieve goes home. Although I will say, I thought Genevieve was going tonight. I thought that because Rachel was so anti-Genevieve, and really she's only anti-Genevieve because Andy goes up to her and says, yeah, Genevieve says we need to worry about Rachel. So Andy's, hey, he might be the puppet master of this whole season. I really thought that Genevieve was going home tonight. I thought it was going to be kind of a down the line, boring boot. I did not think it was going to be Gabe. I just thought we had more of Gabe left this season. You know, early on in the pre-merge, it felt like he was getting set up to be this kind of big villainous character. And he kind of just goes out in a whimper here. And I thought we were going to get more Gabe, and that, you know, the tides had just fully turned on Genevieve. What did you think, Phil, going into that vote? Obviously it was going to be one or the other. They actually have this kind of fun moment before they were like, it's one of us. We don't know who's lying, but one of us is going home. I actually really like that scene. What did you think going into it?
I mean, I thought it was going to be Genevieve because I have Gabe on my fantasy team, and I thought my fantasy team was final 6, and now I finally lost somebody from my fantasy team. But here's my question. To answer this seriously, I have to pose a question to get to my answer because I think that this is very important. Do you think that Sue knew Gabe was going home tonight or no? Do you think Caroline told Sue that Gabe was getting his name written down? Because she voted for Genevieve. And I'm asking this question because this was what was determining who I thought was going home. And I just want to see what you thought. Do you think that Sue knew that Gabe was getting votes tonight and was going to go
I
home?
think Sue knew that Gabe was getting votes, yes.
So I thought Genevieve was going home because I thought that Sue knew as well. And I thought that she was going to play her idol for Gabe because she's that close with Gabe. And for her, she'd rather go to the final 3 with Gabe and Caroline.
Why would you ever think that Sue was going to play her idol tonight when the show did not remind us that Sue has an idol and has not reminded us for like 3 weeks in a row?
So this is a reason why. This is a reason why. You mentioned it actually already. The fact that the editors are leaving things out purposefully and then going back to them. We saw that with Teeny saying, hey, this was 100% Genevieve. You know, Andy says to Teeny, you know, Genevieve came up with this from scratch. And then Teeny tells Saul that information, and we see it a week later. Normally they tell things in a linear fashion. They're not doing things in a linear fashion this week. So part of me said, maybe they'll let Sue have her big moment. She's sitting there with the bag on her lap. I was saying, man, Sue's going to play this, and the editors are just having a good time. And next week we'll hear all about the aftermath. I am just surprised that if she knew, I am surprised she didn't play her idol because she talked so much about how important Gabe was to her game and how important, like how tight she was with Gabe. So that's just my opinion. I thought Genevieve was going home because of that. And then when Sue didn't play her idol, I said, okay, it's probably going to be an 8-1 vote. And it wasn't.
Yeah, I don't think they would ever just totally leave the audience in the dark on an idol play. I think that's too big to leave. And the reason they were able to omit that Genevieve was the mastermind and that came out at Tribal is that was very important to the storyline of this episode. And that's why we saw it on previously on of this episode. Whereas an idol play is very important to the episode you're watching, whatever Tribal Council that's at the end of that episode. You need to know where the tools lie. We haven't been reminded. And Phil, if they had reminded us last week and they said, you know, Sue has her idol, this could come into play, maybe, the audience is getting smarter. We don't need to remind people as much. But the fact that they have not mentioned it basically since she found it, or basically since the merge where the red paint came up and she had say like, yeah, I have an idol, or Caroline comes up and verifies it with her. I did not foresee any world in which Sue was going to play her idol tonight. The audience is not that smart. I mean, not that we're not that smart or that the general audience is that smart. I mean, I'm even watching this episode. I do a podcast with you called The Specialist. Yeah, if you ask me who has an idol, where the advantages in this game, I say, yeah, Sue has one. But it didn't even cross my mind that she would play it for Gabe, mainly because the show didn't, bring that to my attention.
And I think that was another thing that made me think it was going to be Genevieve. The fact that they weren't bringing up that she had this idol and that she could potentially save Gabe with it. I'm saying to myself, well, Gabe doesn't need saving, so they're not even bothering to remind us because Gabe is going to be totally fine, and this is all a red herring, and Genevieve's the bigger threat. All of that being said, Gabe was the right move tonight. Genevieve being in the game, Genevieve's got no teeth right now. Everybody saw what she did last time. Everybody is worried about Genevieve. Nobody wants to sit at the end with Genevieve right now. Everybody knows that Genevieve's a threat. The Tuku 4 become the biggest threat, even though Sue is a truck driver when it comes to poor Kyle, cursing him out. We got the horn nonstop with her dropping F-bombs. But I still think that Tuku 4 was too dangerous for this group. And if you vote somebody out, you make it a 4-4 split. By getting rid of one of the Tukus, now you can have the 5-3 advantage, or you can potentially work with some of the Tukus, vote out Genevieve, and now you turn around and you say, okay, we still, as this outcast group, have a final. We have 4 people to the 3 over there, even without Genevieve. So I actually think that this was 100% the right move. Last week, I said it wasn't the right move. The Genevieve stands came after me. The Genevieve stands look really silly right now. That's okay. But I think that this was the right move.
Yeah, I think so. And I think that's why I was more okay with Genevieve's moves last week, was that, like, yeah, people might want to come after her, but the Tuku 4, being 4 out of 8 is way too much of a threat, especially because they're not this dysfunctional group. Like, they're all pretty tight. Yeah, we see Sue badmouth Kyle, but what has Sue done to get Kyle out of here? And actually, Kyle hasn't been able to get out of here because he's won immunity after immunity. So you have like the challenge beast, and then you have like the mother-daughter alliance, the unbreakable mother-daughter and Caroline and Sue, and then Gabe and Sue have been like the duo since day one. So it's not like it's a fractured group. To leave the 4 of them in going into Final 8 would have been a mistake. So yes, I think Gabe is absolutely the right move here.
Because then the other thing is, like, you can't tell me that Gabe couldn't and Caroline couldn't say to Sue, just get us through one more vote, Sue. Work with Kyle one more vote. Let us get the 4-3 advantage. Then you can worry about Kyle. That's absolutely what happened. I saw this, and I want to bring this up, Will, because you're a challenge guy. Kyle is a cheater in the ball disc challenge. So Sophie Clark actually posted this, that the disc was resting on his forearm.
I saw a lot of people doing that, though. I noticed that, too. And it wasn't just Kyle.
Yeah, that's what I thought, too.
Yeah.
They changed this challenge up by putting the handle at the bottom. That wasn't always there. It used to be a flat disc and they'd palm it, or you could use your fingertips, but now they have the handle there. I think that made it more difficult. And also it made it for an more awkward angle. I don't know if I'm wrong on this, but it looks like it made it for a more awkward angle where normally your whole forearm is touching anyway because you're palming it. So you're going to get more of your arm in there.
Yeah.
The way this was sitting, I don't know how you keep your arm away from it.
Yeah. I also don't know if it's that big of an advantage. Like, if you're, especially with a challenge like that, you want to make really tiny, small, marginal movements to get the balls towards the center. And if you have it like against your forearm, it's pretty rigid. For you to even adjust, you have to make a pretty drastic move. Obviously, Kyle was able to do it, but there were multiple people. It seemed like that wasn't a rule on this.
Yeah.
If anything, I thought there was maybe more cheating in the first challenge where people were using their shoulders,
not their heads. When Jeff
not their heads,
said head.
But I guess that's okay too, because Jeff didn't say anything.
Yeah. Yeah. He didn't say anything. And they specifically said, you will use your head to do this. You will use your head to do this. And it was just shoulder city. So yeah, I don't know. Maybe they cheated. Maybe they didn't. But all of a sudden everybody started using their shoulders. So I don't know. know. They've done that challenge a bunch. I thought this was the best iteration of that. I like that we got a pure reward challenge. Actually, I think that might be our third one.
Wait, you didn't want them to lose votes or anything?
Isn't this crazy? Oh God, dude, I can't wait to talk about the rice negotiation. My goodness, the highlight. Let me bring this up because it was a super chat, and I don't want to lose track of it. Shane Cup, thank you so much for the super chat. Always love getting these. Who wins a Sue, Teeny, Andy final 3?
Andy.
No way. Teeny wins. Landslide. 9-0. Teeny wins. Dude, Teeny's episode tonight was absolutely incredible.
She got a great episode tonight, but I think so far where we stand, Andy has made like more moves, been on the pulse of the game. It seems like he's working with everybody. We keep getting reminded. I mean, it seems like he had a random conversation with Caroline out of nowhere, and that wasn't even in his spiderweb montage that we got early on in the episode. It seems like Andy has been he has a one-on-one connection with literally everybody in the game. I don't know if I can say that for Teeny.
I don't think that they're as good of connections as they're kind of trying to make this seem. I feel like Andy, and hey, let me see what people think about this. Will, I know you're going to disagree. I think Andy might be getting the we're bringing it back for 50 edit. That's what it might feel like to me, where he's getting sugar-coated big time and people are acting like, wow, like we really appreciate what's going on with Andy. I don't think anybody is taking Andy seriously at all. I think that every time Andy tells people like this person's doing this, I think they're all going back and talking to each other about it. I think everybody's on the pulse of what Andy's doing.
Maybe that's possible, but we did hear from Rachel tonight, like, actually, my number one ally is ironically Andy, and I actually trust him. It seems like he is making inroads with people. So I look, I thought Andy since the merge has looked pretty good, and maybe he is getting this new style of edit that you've just coined, the bringing back for 50 edit. I don't know. It's like, is Andy that great of a character though? Like, I feel like
I think he's a great confessional giver. That's the biggest thing.
He's fun, but I almost feel like this season and the way he started, like he's great because of his story on this season, on Survivor 47, when he had an anxiety attack breakdown at the first challenge in the premiere, and for him to like really grab a hold of this game and be in on a lot of blindsides, it's a phenomenal story, and he's a great character for that story, and I'm rooting for him. It's fun to see him play this game, but he's not someone that jumps out to me on any given season. He's going to be like a surefire casting choice that's going to be, a great player and a great character. I feel like there are other great characters on this season and in the new era. I don't know if Andy is like a lock, although this season feels like this is his season. This is his story. We've seen so much of that. So I think both things can be true.
Yeah, and
he's great on this season.
Yeah, and to mention that, Blake and I, for patrons, we did a casting perspective episode today, actually, that just released about Jeff's interview with Dalton Ross about a week ago, where he was saying we want joyful people who aren't out here looking to settle scores and all of that. This is what we want for 50. We want it to be a celebration. We want people who have stuff to prove to themselves, whatever. Andy just feels like he checks all those boxes. Like Andy is somebody who, really fits with what Jeff is enjoying about the casting of the new era. So that's just my opinion on this. I think Teeny wins. Look, I want to talk about Teeny's confessionals and everything tonight. We start off the episode with Teeny getting the previously on, and I think that was another starred comment. We'll get to Cody Brayman's in a second because I want to talk about Teeny here. With Teeny, we get the previously on where everything is shown that Teeny actually knew exactly what was going on at that tribal council, that she finds out that it was Genevieve who put this whole thing together. Teeny comes back. She gives the fire to Genevieve, and that was awesome. I love seeing that. I'm so pumped that we're getting somebody who's that pissed off that they've been left out. Now, they've been the thing is, Teeny's been burned twice now. By Genevieve, yeah. Like strictly by Genevieve. So why would you ever trust Genevieve? And when Genevieve's sitting there and her excuse of, well, I didn't want to make too many emotional connections because then it hurts when this happens, blah, blah, blah. It didn't work. And then to get the personal content that we got from Teeny tonight. We've never seen a confessional like that on the show. We never have seen that. Like we really haven't. And I think Teeny did such a great job of explaining what she's going through in her life on the island throughout her entire life. I think that was just so powerful. And I'm sitting here saying, Teeny's drawing dead. And now I'm coming out of this week going, is Teeny's story beginning now? But at the same time, we also heard her say, I can win. I need to open up this game by getting rid of Genevieve. But did Teeny ultimately make the right move and put personal feelings aside to get rid of the person who needed to go tonight? Potentially. I think Teeny would win that final three that we were just talking about. And I think Teeny had an absolutely phenomenal episode tonight and is right back in the winner mix.
See, I don't know if I put her right in the winner mix. And I mean, just because someone gets a good confessional or is, a good confessionalist, I mean, I think that's a lot of it we like to read into the edit and look into things probably a little bit too much. That goes for the whole community as a whole. like if someone is giving good confessionals, you're going to include it in the episode. And Teeny has continually been like someone who is very well spoken, a great narrator. And has she been on the pulse of where the votes are in the strategy? Not really. But she's still a very, a very good speaker and someone who you care about. She has a very good story and an interesting background. She shared a lot about that tonight. So I don't know, just because, wow, what a confessional, what a scene, what a segment, that just props her up into winner contention, because we just haven't seen the game from her yet as much. Hey, maybe in the new era, it doesn't matter. We've seen a lot of people just get the final tribal council, and if people like you, that's how it goes. And hey, maybe that's our winner from Teeny, and that's why we have seen, so much of her. But yeah, I don't know if I'm taking as much away from that as you are.
I also think what's doing it for me is I feel like Genevieve is going one of the next 2 weeks. I do not think Genevieve is going to make the finale, and I think that Teeny might be able to claim that move. Even though a lot of people want to go after Genevieve, I think that Teeny getting to final 3 and being able to say, when Genevieve made the move against Saul, I had nowhere to go. And yet I was able to get her out of the game, and I wanted to get her out of the game at 9. And I didn't get her out of the game at 9 because Gabe was the better move. And I put my personal feelings aside and I still got her. I think Teeny could make a compelling argument here. Yeah. Especially, I just, the thing with that confessional was, more than anything, the way that she explained herself the entire time, I thought was so phenomenally well done. And so because of that, all of a sudden I see that confessional and I say, Teeny gets to final 3. There's a potential there for a really good pitch.
Yeah, she's a good speaker. She's a good talker. I mean, remember when we merged and we're like, who really are the winner contenders? And it was so hard to pin anybody. It was like Teeny seemed like the cleanest person to pick, that like hasn't had, the most blemishes on their edit, basically. Mm-hmm. She's kind of been in that mix for a while. I still, at the top, after this episode, I probably have Rachel. I still am going Rachel or Andy.
I think Rachel's going to win. That's
kind of been. I'm pretty sure I said Rachel and Andy last week, and Rachel and Andy the week before, and then Andy the week before that. So I think, Rachel tonight, we heard a lot from her. This season's so odd. It's so much, because we've seen this revenge arc from a lot of people that Teeny got tonight. Like, all right, I'm getting revenge. This is what we're doing. And then Rachel is all about like finding footing. And it seems like there's just so many people, pretty much everyone who's not in Tuku is like, what the hell is going on in this tribe? Like, there isn't really a solidified alliance or group that keeps voting together. And yes, Tuku exists, but outside of that, it's been pretty wish-washy. And now it's like these outcasts, Sam, who was betrayed when Sierra goes home, Teeny, who was betrayed when Saul goes home, Rachel, who was betrayed when Annika goes home, even though that was, before the
still merger. Those 3 now all of a sudden are making an alliance.
Andy, who who's been an outcast basically since the second the season started, are all coming together, and they're not bringing Genevieve along for the ride. It doesn't seem like. So it's like that foursome right there seems to be kind of this mishmash of people, this group of outcasts that have come together, and it looks like they're going to steer the direction of this game, or maybe Rachel will be the ocean. And there'll be someone else pretending to be the ocean. There you go. That's a great. That was just a phenomenal quote, phenomenal confessional. And that, to me, I know it wasn't as long as Teeny's scene. That screamed more winner to me than
Teeny's was just so like well done from a personal perspective. But yes, Rachel, I have felt for the last couple of weeks that she has righted the ship. Hello, and she's gonna win this.
Righted the ocean.
She's righted the ocean. I feel like she's going to win this. I really do. Also, I don't want to be the captain of the ship. I don't have to have my hand on the wheel. I just want to be the whole freaking ocean. Like, all right, Rachel. Yeah. Let's throw up this next one here from Cody Brayman, another super chat. Did you appreciate the next time on with the Sue wanting to kill Kyle and it was a flashback montage? What did you think about that? I thought we were going to get some major blow up. And then instead it was just Sue kind of complaining in all the scenes we already seen.
I do not have a problem with this whatsoever. Next time on Survivor is supposed to be full of red herrings anyway. Like, it would suck if the preview was like, it's between Gabe and Genevieve. And it's like, then why do we need to watch the episode? Let's just go to Tribal Council. Like, I'm okay with them filling the previously on. Trick us as much as you want. That's the point of those things, basically. Get you excited and then, kind of pull one over on you. And then as for the scene itself, I loved it. I think that's awesome. You don't see anything like it. It was really funny. I don't think it was like every clip of that we'd already seen. There were some new clips, new footage mixed in there, and it was edited in a really funny, entertaining way. So I'm totally here for that. And I liked it. It was like a little stylized scene of Sue. And it is funny how much she repeats, he wrote my name down. He wrote my name down. It's like to see it all in order like that and her chopping the coconut. I love that. And I have no problem that they included that in the preview.
Yeah, I was fine with it. I was surprised because we'd never quite seen anything like that. This is also back-to-back weeks now that we got a flashback montage. Because last week we got Andy and Rachel bonding and doing all their stuff from the early days. I am starting to feel like Rachel and Andy could be sitting next to each other at Final 3 based on the way that this story has gone, which if that's the case, I think I think Teeny wins in a landslide if she sits next to Andy. So I definitely think Rachel wins in a landslide if she sits next to Andy.
But what if Andy beats Rachel in fire and then goes and takes out the queen? And I don't know.
Hey, it's possible. It's possible.
There's still a path for Andy to win, I think. I'm not out on it. You're very out on it.
I'm very out on it. I would be shocked if Andy wins. I would be shocked. I really would be shocked. But look, crazier things have happened in the new era. Erica won, and Marianne, after episode 4, I thought had no shot. Then all of a sudden just turned it on. So, hey, Andy definitely has more of a finger on the pulse of what's happening, but I'm still just not buying that these little one-off conversations, although I did think it was really funny. He was laying in the hammock, and I guess it started with Genevieve or Rachel or whatever, and then Sam.
Genevieve. And then it was Sam, and then
he
it was
literally
Kyle.
says to Sam, though, he says, Genevieve was just here, as if this was his office. Welcome. You are allowed to have the hammock now.
It did feel like he was holding office hours. He's a professor. It's here's my hammock hours. Come visit me. And everyone, he wasn't getting up and calling people over. People just came down and started talking to Andy. So I don't know what you're seeing that's suggesting that everyone's laughing at him or not taking him seriously. I mean,
other than Rachel literally saying to Sierra, I forget about Andy.
That's literally the underdog story. That's part of it. That's a good sign.
It was too much of a mock.
That was Sam and Rachel saying, I forget about Andy sometimes. And then Andy joins forces with everyone else to blindside those two people and get rid of Sierra. That was totally intentional and included to build Andy up, not break him down, that he is being underestimated. And he then thwarts the ones that are underestimating him.
It's possible. I just don't see it, but it's possible. You're not saying things that are like crazy pills. I just don't see it. And a lot of people want it to be Andy. I mean, Edgic is all over Andy. I mean, this is the Andy show. And I will say the primary story is Andy's story on this season, but the primary story doesn't always win.
No, it's true.
Mm-hmm. So we'll see how that ends up shaking out. Let's talk this rice negotiation because this just ruined everybody's prop bet. Nobody will get used a shot in the dark because nobody's using their shot in the dark.
Well, Rachel already used it, so at least one.
Rachel already used it. She's the only one. What do you think about this? So Jeff comes in, and I tweeted this because Jeff's like, I want to keep the new players on their toes. Also, this is the rice negotiation episode, everybody. Boom, 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 boom. Like flashing lights, all this. We've seen it a million times. They all clearly weren't going to give up their place in the immunity challenge for this. Kyle offers up shot in the dark.
No, you know what? Before you say that, and Kyle took some credit, it was Caroline's idea initially. She said, how about 2 shots shot in the darks?
And then
so
Kyle,
she was the one to kind of bridge this subject of are shot in the darks valuable enough to trade as a shot of me? I mean, if you think about it, if you play a shot in the dark, it's 1 in 6 chance at immunity.
And you can't vote, so you have no say over
it. And you can't vote, so there's actually, it's a little less valuable there. But let's at least crunch the numbers on this, Phil. Because Jeff is asking for a shot at immunity in the challenge to participate, and that's a 1 in 9 shot.
Mm-hmm.
So the shot in the dark actually, number-wise, is a little bit more valuable than this playing in this immunity challenge. And the shot in the dark, you can choose when you play it, whereas this immunity challenge, if you win immunity here, it's you're good for 1 vote, which, yeah, is huge. But before we rip this to shreds, because that seems like what you're about to do.
I didn't say that.
I think there is an argument that a 1 in 6 shot, giving that up to Jeff is actually you're giving more up than a 1 in 9 shot.
No, I think what's funny about this whole scenario is, first of all, I just think the rice negotiation is a tired thing because we've seen it every season. It's okay, that's enough.
Sure.
But I actually think what's funny about this is Jeff used a twist to allow them to give up a twist/advantage. And I just think there's something ironic about that, right?
No, it is.
Now we're giving away advantages/twists so that we can participate in another twist in the new era. And what does it really net out to? The people got Rice, which they've gotten almost every season of Survivor, and they gave up something that's only in the last 7 seasons of Survivor. So a lot of people were saying, we just went back to old school Survivor. Survivor 47 just made it happen. We just got rid of 2 twists that we never saw. I mean, Angelina obviously had her moment. We would see food every now and then, but I'm just saying it's so funny that it was advantages that were given up to make this twist be something this season.
I do think that's the funniest part, is that like Jeff gets so giddy and excited when it's like, this is the first time in Survivor history. We're making history. And it's like, okay, yeah, you're making history of 7 Rice negotiations. We're going to trade shots in the dark. And it's like, he doesn't even realize that, like, wait, his like baby of an advantage idea that, you know, has had really just almost no impact on the new era whatsoever. A largely a flop. And we have seen some fun things with Shot in the Dark. Sure. Caleb's play, fine. That was great. He goes home the episode after. We saw Matt use it cleverly. We saw Rachel use it cleverly this season. Not that it's been completely void of any substance, but like it has not had a big influence on the new era. It's not like this game-changing twist, but I think he wants it to be, and I think he thinks it is. And for them to be like, oh yeah, we'll give that up, sure. Like no problem.
It doesn't mean anything.
Yeah, we don't. I'm probably not going to need to use this anyway. It's a 1 in 6 shot when you can't vote. So sure, take it. Give me free Rice. I will say though, number wise, 1 in 6 shot immunity is better than 1 in 9 shot.
Yeah, no, I agree with what you're saying. Sorry,
I think Sam was pretty spot on here. Like, yeah, I want to play and I don't want to give my shot in the dark, but I'm not going to piss off 8 tribe members and make like they won't get Rice because I am being selfish, basically. Even if he did want to keep his shot in the dark.
Absolutely. And it's the right move because by keeping the shot in the dark and not allowing everybody to eat Rice, everybody then says, okay, Sam, screw you. Why don't you play your shot in the dark to save yourself? And you only have a 1 in 6 shot of that working, which really isn't that good of odds. I'll take my chances competing in challenges. Hopefully we can get rid of Kyle at some point. Because then I'll have a better.
Your challenge odds aren't as good, Phil.
They're not. No, they're not. But I, like you said, though.
No, I know. I'm teasing.
Also, though, I don't think Sam's going home. Sam was never going home this week. So I think that also probably helped Sam. He's probably looking down to final 6, final 7. But also, once you start getting down to smaller numbers, the votes matter so much more that you get down to final 6. Are you really going to play your shot?
I don't think you're going to play your shot.
No, you're going to try. You're going to try your luck. And
when's the last time you can play it anyway? Is it final 6? I don't think you can play it at final 5.
You can play. I'm looking it up right now.
I think it might be final 6 the last time you can play it. So basically, we're talking about
final 7.
Oh,
final 7, but it's final 6 and 42. So really, we're
that
at final
makes
9.
This even more of a steal. Yeah, it's the vote at 9, 8, and 7. I mean, that's 3 tribals, and you're going to want to vote in all those tribals too if you have your vote.
Yeah. No. Absolutely. So, let's get Jayburn Aquatic up here. Kyle's going to pull a Holloway Drybergen and win. Now that Saul's out, I'm a Kyle stan or Sam. Jayburn Aquatic can't make up his mind. Kyle just won 4 immunity challenges, the most of the new era. Now, granted, there's an asterisk next to one of them, but he's won 3 real ones already, and we're at final 8. He's got plenty of time left. What do you think about Kyle's challenge performances right now, and how do you think Kyle can win the game if he wins every immunity challenge? Does Kyle win if he gets to the end or no?
Depends who he's sitting next to. I don't think Kyle will win even if he gets there, though.
I agree.
Just because it's new era Survivor and juries don't care about how good you are at challenges. They care about how good you are socially. And it's weird because especially from what we've seen of Kyle's, that he hasn't been that much of a strategic game player. But tonight he's on the reward and he's tossing out Gabe's name to Rachel and Sam. And I mean, it seems like he is actually maybe playing pretty hard and has some strategic thoughts. We're just not really seeing it. And if he was the ultimate winner of this game, even if it was a challenge run, he wins every single one. That would be impressive. It'd be insane. The show, I think, would give us a little more insight into, Kyle's brain of how he sees the game and how he sees people. And what we actually have seen from him strategically up until this point has been kind of inaccurate reads. He had that line about Genevieve last week that, like, I don't even think Genevieve's capable of putting together a strategic plan or something. That's not verbatim, but something along those lines. And that if he was going to be our winner, I think they would just give him, not that you need to be a super strategist. You don't need to be. You can be a likable social player who's good at challenges, but from what we're seeing from the show, I imagine if he was the winner, we would just be seeing a little bit different.
And Jayburn Aquatic does have here, Sue and Andy said he'd sweep, and we do have a couple other people who are saying Kyle would win if he gets to the end. I think Teeny says it.
Oh, yeah, no, I think if he got to the end, he absolutely could win. I think he's a likable stand-up dude. I just don't think that's going to happen, and it's not the story that we've been told so far.
Yeah, and I agree with everything you're saying. It's just also like you have to do more than win challenges. Even all the way back to season 2, Colby he's still tied for the record. Colby still didn't win. And so like it's not just the new era thing, but I think he's a nice guy, but I don't think that's going to be enough to get you the votes, even if you win all the immunities, because at some point people are going to say, okay, Kyle, what did you do to make a big move that really turned the game on its head? Right. And I think with the way some of these people are playing right now, they would just get like Rachel, Genevieve, Teeny, maybe even Andy. I could see all of them beating Kyle. I could see Sam beating Kyle. Honestly, I feel like we're almost writing Sam off. I feel like Sam actually had a pretty strong episode. And I feel like Sam's finding his footing again, which is, I think Sierra going home might have been the best thing for Sam.
Yeah, Sam's been tricky. I don't know what it is. I don't feel winner, but like if Sam wins the season, it's not like my jaw would be on the floor.
No.
Like I think Sam could win. I think Teeny could win. Andy and Rachel have obviously already said. I don't think Sue's winning. I don't think Kyle's winning. I wish I could put Caroline in there, man. What's going on with Caroline? Like everything we see from her is so good and thought out. And she's clearly a good player. She's got great game sense. People like her. People come up there and tell her things. But just, again, we're not getting any personal content from Caroline. And I would love for her to be like in the mix right now as a front runner because she is that good of a player.
Yeah, I cannot put my finger on Caroline at all. I'm trying to figure out why they're giving us, look, the thing I will say is like 2.4 confessionals per episode is pretty solid for the most invisible person on your season. But I guess what I'm trying to figure out is like, what do they want us to feel?
Sue is definitely more invisible than Caroline. No,
Sue has 31 confessionals. Caroline has 24. But Caroline's had a confessional every episode. Sue hasn't.
Yeah, I feel like Sue has dropped in and out, and Sue had the red paint ordeal. And what was that, like 4 or 5 confessionals?
Sue's only had 6 in the last 4 episodes. So her other 25 all came in the first 6. But what I was going to say with this is Caroline, to me, I feel like we're seeing Caroline. And I just don't know what the editors want us to feel for Caroline. Should we care about Caroline? Because I don't feel like I'm getting much from Caroline at all.
We just get bits and pieces. It's not like we're not meant to care about her that much. Like Teeny, we're really supposed to care about and root for. Like that was very evident tonight.
Absolutely. But like, where does Caroline fit? I mean, I agree with you. I feel like Caroline should have a better chance to win this game. We should be sitting here talking about, can Caroline pull this out? Blake and I, we ranked who had the easiest path to win the game right now. That's what we did on our Digging Deeper last week. And I said I said Caroline had the second easiest path because she was the least threatening from the Tukus. She had relationships with Teeny and Rachel and all these other people. But then I watch what happens tonight and I'm like, she might have an easy path, but if she gets there, I just don't see how she gets there based on what we've seen. I really don't.
I mean, I can see her. I can with the people left and the relationship she has. Like, I see a world in which like Caroline can totally get there. It's more what we've been shown. Like what if we're there, in Fiji right now, and you've been watching behind the scenes and you haven't been watching the cut together episodes, you'd very much be like, Caroline is an absolute danger to win this game.
Yeah,
but like. It hasn't been about Caroline at all. She seems like just kind of like a secondary player in all this.
And that's what
even though she's good, even though she's really good.
And that's
same
what
with Genevieve.
Yeah, exactly. Like Genevieve and Caroline. But the thing is, Caroline, I see the path so easily. I just don't see the edit that gets her to the end, even though her path is simple. Now Genevieve's path is trash now. I don't know how Genevieve gets to the end. She's playing a good game. I feel like we're starting to get a little bit more of the personal content, but I feel like it's too little too late. I mean, she's been a confessional machine too. She was the biggest part of tonight's episode, but I just feel like it's too little too late for Genevieve, because I think no way anybody lets her sit at final 3, and she's not an immunity challenge.
It's so crazy because she makes like one. I mean, the Keyshawn one was great. And then she just like votes out Saul, and now she's just totally enemy number 1. Like completely. Like as if there aren't other people even playing the game. Because I mean, remember Caroline was so worried about Rachel?
Mm-hmm.
Like so worried. Like where did that thread go? Like is that gonna pop up at some point?
I don't think so. I think what's
like is Caroline now like, oh, Genevieve is the one I should be worried about, not Rachel?
Well, maybe what ends up happening is Caroline starts to get back on that train of thought late. Caroline goes home, and then it's Caroline voting for Rachel to win because I knew you were the biggest threat in the game, and I didn't make that decision to actually vote you out of the game.
I mean, she couldn't, that tribal council at least.
No, but you know what I'm saying. I'm just saying in general.
She stab it there.
Yeah. I just feel like the way this is going is, for some reason they showed us that. Why aren't they still showing us that? Although Genevieve has said it, and now Rachel tonight said Genevieve was the biggest threat in the game, and she wants to get rid of that. I feel like the showdown is coming between Rachel and Genevieve, and the winner of that could be the winner of this season. And based on what I'm watching, Rachel is going to be the winner of that battle.
Yeah, I'm with you there. As much as I am a fan of Caroline's gameplay and her confessionals, there's something so funny about them. Like even when she's like, knows she's on the chopping block, she's like, yeah, I don't know what to do. Like, damn, could be my last meal, final supper with the rice. Oh well, what are you gonna do? You like feel bad.
Yeah, it's gonna be a fun end game here with this final 8, because now with Gabe going home, do you think another Tuku goes next week? Like, are you in agreement that this Rachel, Sam, Andy, Teeny alliance might be a thing, or does Genevieve, now that it's a couple days ago, people start to say this isn't that big of a deal? Tuku's been weakened a little bit, so now Kyle, Sue, and Caroline can get back in the game. Maybe Sue sees one of her closest allies, even though I don't think she was as left out of this as it's being shown. I think that she purposely voted for Genevieve and was probably told, but didn't want to write Gabe's name down. Does Sue play an idol because she's a little paranoid? Like, how do you see this moving forward now? Because last week I felt like I had a clear picture of how it was going to be moving forward, and it pretty much came to fruition tonight.
Yeah, no, we felt immediately last week that a Tuku was going to go tonight.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, the thing with this vote, I don't think there's one person that you could pin this vote on, right? Like, there's like, who is the mastermind of the Gabe vote? I don't know if that exists. And so I think Genevieve is probably still top of mind for a lot of people. And I don't really like her chances going into next week, unfortunately.
Mm-hmm.
Like if and they kept saying that too, and maybe that's a clue that it doesn't happen. That would be kind of Survivor showing its hand, an episode in advance. But a lot of them were like, "Let's do Gabe this week because of Tuku, and then we can get Genevieve the next week." Or they were even saying, "Let's do Genevieve this week, and hey, Gabe or Kyle, they can't both win immunity next week. Then we'll get one of them." I guess that happened on both sides, but it seems like Gabe and Genevieve are targets number 1 and number 2, and the plan from the majority here is to get them out in succession. So I still don't feel good for Genevieve right now. Like, what can she do? I don't know if there's anything she can do to like flip the script on this.
I think what happens here is this:
Kyle loses.
That's it, and Genevieve could survive, because now all of a sudden, and we talked about this, where it's like you're not going to win all of them, but now we're down to final 8. You don't know if you're going to get split tribals. You don't know if 2 people are going to win immunity. Kyle could go find an idol. Who knows? Kyle loses at 8 and Gabe's not in the game anymore. Maybe you say, let's get rid of the challenge threat. And Genevieve can no longer be picking which shield she wants, because she put her head way too high up. She said the tallest blade of grass gets cut.
And I'm growing.
Yeah, and I'm growing. She's a tree in a field. Like, we all see you. We all know you're there. You are sticking out like a sore thumb right now. So I do feel like for Genevieve, Kyle losing could be good for her game, because you are running out of opportunities a little bit with Kyle. And if you're worried about the nice guy act working for him at final 3, and I don't think it's an act, but you know what I mean, the nice guy's story working for him at final 3, final 4, he's probably going to make a killer fire. So do you really, at 8, 7, 6, 5, you got 4 more shots to get rid of him? Are you really going to give it a 1-3? Are you really going to give it like a 3? Now you get that down to 3 and you're sitting there going, well, he won 4 of the first 5 immunity challenges.
Yeah, no, I think that's there's a very strong chance and I do think at this point, once he's won 4, the next time he loses, he has to be the one.
He has to.
I think it's more a question of like, when is he going to lose? What challenge is he going to lose?
And with Gabe out, his chances of losing went down. He's, Gabe
right. Especially in the next time on Survivor, they showed that challenge with the immunity challenge. I believe that's going to be the one for immunity. Hey, it could be for a reward. The one where you're stacking the letter blocks that spell immunity.
It was spelling out immunity. I hope it's for immunity.
Oh, right. There we go. It didn't spell out reward. Sometimes it spells different things. We've seen it spell final 4 or final. But
this
3.
one was spelling. This was
spelling immunity. It wasn't spelling reward. So there you go. That one does seem to fall in Kyle's wheelhouse. And honestly, there hasn't been much that hasn't fallen in his wheelhouse. It seems like this ball thing today, this is like, if you're going to get Kyle, if he's going to lose, this is kind of the one where you're like, no one's really good at this. The one on the bow is a little bit different. I think that takes a different kind of skill, where the ball's on the disc. It's kind of like, put the balls in the center and pray, keep your hands still. But I don't know if I think this one's probably more luck-based than one would think. So for Kyle to win this one, damn. Like that next one, it feels like Kyle he has a good touch on the rope. He's fast. He's strong, like all of that. That could be another Kyle win. That could be 5. That could be 5 at final 8.
And then you're getting rid of him no matter what at the next one. But Genevieve would go. I think Genevieve would go next week if Kyle wins immunity again. I really do. I think Genevieve is in big trouble, and I don't want to spoil it there. I got Jelinski on Sunday, 8 p.m. Eastern.
Wow, I might have to pop in.
Yeah, so I don't want
to do the whole thing, but just say what up.
Yeah, I don't want to spoil. What my power rankings are going to be. I mean, they could change, but I just feel like right now Genevieve she's just the obvious target. And Kyle, I wasn't worried about Kyle, as a challenge beast and all of that. But at the same time, Kyle's not an asshole. And so if Kyle was, you might be more willing to let him win immunities because he's not going to win at final 3 anyway. But Kyle is the type of person who could get some votes at final 3. Do you really want that person getting that far? I don't.
No.
Yeah.
No.
So
do you think he would have gone home tonight? Like, let's say Sue wins that immunity challenge and it's Gabe, Genevieve, or Kyle. What do you think happens? Do you think Gabe still goes home, or do you think Kyle goes home? Or does Genevieve go, because there's 2 targets and people can't agree on which one to go with?
I think Gabe has been seen as the biggest threat. Somebody brought it up, and I forget which one it was, but they said Gabe's the leader of Tuku. That's why they got rid of him. Gabe was the leader of Tuku. Kyle was never going to be the leader of Tuku. So I think if Kyle loses, they still vote out Gabe if Sue wins that immunity, because Gabe is just, he was seen as the bigger threat and the one keeping that alliance together.
It's weird. I was like logically watching that challenge. I'm like, okay, we got Sue and Kyle head to head. Like, I should be rooting for Sue here because I want Kyle or Gabe. I want the Tuku 4 to be broken up. But I was watching and I'm just like, hard not to root for Kyle there, because I'm like, he might go and let's see this run. Let's see it continue. I couldn't help but root for Kyle. And I knew Sue had probably no chance of getting the votes on her too.
She wasn't going home. Yeah. So, and I guess
let's see the guy, pull out a win here.
And if Kyle were to win next week, I think next week will be the last time I root for Kyle, because Kyle winning next week, there's no safety vote for everybody. They can't sit there and say, oh, there's 4 Tukus, so let's use our 5-4 numbers to get rid of a Tuku. No, at the next challenge, if Kyle wins that, then is it just Genevieve? Was it that simple? Or do the players start playing again and say, everybody already knows Genevieve's a threat. Let's get rid of somebody else. And let's start looking at somebody who's a lesser threat who could still win. Caroline said tonight,
Sorry,
I was just going to say, Caroline said tonight, based on how her game was going, she does feel like some of these other players are playing better games than her, where they would beat her at final 3. That type of awareness could get you trying to vote out people and say, okay, I know Genevieve's there, but I got to get rid of these other threats too. Let's get rid of them while everybody's staring at Genevieve.
Yeah, and it does seem like that's the mindset not only of like this season, but a lot of the new era is like, oh, this person's the obvious threat. Everyone's doing that. I want to take the game into my own hands. I want to make my own move. And Caroline is someone to look at, Phil. I think you nailed it on the head. Like, I think Teeny, Sam, Andy, Rachel, that kind of mishmash group of outcasts have come together and think they can dictate the game here. And maybe one of them flips with Genevieve and Caroline to do something different or crazy, or they pair up with Kyle or Sue or something like that. Because you're right. Once a name is, and this is why I know people are going to continue to hate on Genevieve's play, and she got a lot of flack for it last week, deservedly so. It made her a threat unnecessarily. But she did know about the Tuku 4 being all together if she made the move, right? Mm-hmm. And that would probably get her through one vote, and sometimes that's all it takes. Mm-hmm. Like, if Genevieve gets through one vote, and then it's like, oh, Genevieve's the top dog, she's the threat. People start going, well, I want to do something different. I want to put the game in my own hands. I don't want to roll around, like go with the dog pile, go with the rest of the tribe. I want to be the one dictating where this game goes. And so the fact that Genevieve just survived that one vote, that's kind of, she could survive another one, even if Kyle does win immunity. Like, just because we heard from Sam tonight too, he said this, like, I'm telling everyone I trust these people. I do not trust these people. I will go back on them in a second. And to think that Sam, Andy, Rachel, and Teeny are just going to be this like tight foursome, and that they aren't going to have, issues or think each other are threats, or that Caroline is not playing this game hard, or that Sue doesn't want to do something, everyone's playing. So maybe it's not a foregone conclusion that Genevieve goes.
Yeah, I mean, every time it seems like somebody should be obvious, it's somebody else. I mean, Sierra wasn't, the number one threat going into that week. Saul certainly wasn't. Gabe, I had him at the bottom of my power rankings, but it was more because I was just saying you got to get rid of a Tuku here. But there was a legitimate chance that it was going to be Genevieve. So yeah, we'll see. I mean, it just depends on who feels like they benefit from keeping Genevieve in the game. And the number of those people is decreasing by the minute. Like, Rachel's saying she's the biggest threat. Teeny doesn't want Genevieve in the game. Sam is going to be more than happy to get rid of Genevieve. Andy might want to keep Genevieve, but can Andy?
I think Andy can keep Genevieve, and I think Caroline might want to keep Genevieve too.
Yeah. Yeah, maybe there is a path. Maybe Rachel, Sam, and Teeny are on the wrong side.
I would love a Genevieve win so much. Like, if we really start to get to know her more and she somehow pulls it off, I mean, she's just so much fun to watch. So, yeah. I mean, that's what I would be rooting for. It just doesn't seem likely.
I did enjoy watching Genevieve have to play scrappy here too, as the game was falling apart around her and she realized that she was in trouble. I enjoyed that she wasn't begging, but the anxiety was getting to her, and she was trying to stay stone-faced and trying to keep it cool and trying to do what she could. But it was like, okay, I can't let this slip away. I can't let this slip away. I thought she played that really well. And honestly, her confessionals might've been the best they've ever been tonight. I feel like we were getting some like real drama from Genevieve. We saw somebody who's normally very even-keeled type A in their real life start to lose control. And that's not a position she's used to being in.
And I thought her tribal council was good. She was just like, yeah, no one would talk to me today. I don't feel good at all. And I think she was doing this, and I mean, she's probably being honest, but also decreasing her threat level. That like, you guys got me. Like, I get it. No one wants to play with anymore. Like, you knocked me down a rung in the ladder, and I don't really have power anymore. She kind of belittled herself with her tribal council answers,
which is smart. Like, right? Try to convince them that you're not actually as big of a threat.
Now she has no power in this game. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm just here along for the ride, guys. Like, I'll vote wherever you want me to. And then she gets the final three and she can say, I'm the reason Saul went home. I'm the reason this whole game became a mess. I'm the reason Sierra went home. I'm the reason even for these pre-merge boots. Vote for me to win. And then I just had to take a back seat because I didn't have a choice, but I still was able to do that in a way that most players wouldn't be able to. I mean, look, Genevieve winning would be crazy. I'm not disliking Genevieve. It's just the stands were coming for me last week. And I'm like, everybody chill. Like and everything I said last week ended up being true. So I'm like, let's just pump the brakes. That's all.
Yeah.
Don't make me dislike Genevieve because you're annoying about it.
Yeah, I'm definitely a Genevieve stan, but I don't think I'm coming at you too hard.
No, but you're a Genevieve stan, but you also see that it's not like all freaking, ice cream and roses for her right now.
No, I mean, I've been a fan of watching her play the game. I think her confessionals are hilarious. Her her faces she makes are so good, but that her winning chances have not been particularly high.
Those
basically,
I'm talking to. Yeah, I'm talking to those stands who are like, how do you not see that she's going to win this? Willie D says Phil's right about everything as usual. Thank you, Willie D. Thank you. That's important to get in for the podcast.
You're always correct.
I didn't think I've ever been wrong about anything.
Who's your winner?
Right now, it's Rachel. I don't know. I don't
remember. It?
I can't. I don't remember. I don't remember that. No, I don't.
Yeah, you do. Come on.
I don't remember. It started with a T, I think, but at least it wasn't TK. At least she had more than one letter. But yeah, it was Tiana. We all got smoked on that. Blake actually had the best winner pick. He's also, it's about the only thing he was right on all season, but here we are. He might have the worst take of all time on Rachel if she ends up winning this season. I'll just keep replaying that clip over and over again.
She's a graphic designer, so there's no icons to design out there. Something like that.
Something like that. If just she cannot win. It was unreal. It was awesome. What did we miss? Is there anything else from this episode, or should I jump into some other stuff?
Yeah, I don't think we missed anything. The vote was pretty cut and dry. Like it wasn't as messy as weeks past. So we talked about, the reward, nothing too crazy there. We had Andy's spider scene. That was a new way of editing. We had
edited in,
their faces in, and you can't tell me that's like the show is taking Andy seriously, and he wants the audience to take him seriously. This is not the show making fun. This is not a dodo edit here, Phil. It seems like that's what you're taking from this, and that spider scene is putting Andy in a position of power and like being a step ahead of every other player. I'm a smiling assassin. There you go. I don't know if this is, and it is weird because we do get a little bit of that with Andy, that like, hey, we're laughing at him a little bit, but lately it doesn't feel that way, Phil.
Mm-hmm. So let's talk about these other two, because we already talked about that to death, because people are bringing it up here. Gabe, they kept showing Gabe saying, I'm going to be back. I'll be back. I'll be back. Do you think any chance Gabe's on 50?
I don't think so. Would it shock me?
He could play another season, but I don't think he'll be on 50.
Yeah, maybe he's saying I'll be back, and maybe he's back in 49.
56. You know what I mean? Like, I feel like the success of 50 is going to lead to more returnee seasons closer together like it used to be. And I could see him coming back for that, but I don't think that he'll be back for that. And the other one from the man who made your career, Will, Trav Herod, Saul Muscle Vest. That was a look.
That was a very good look.
Sierra was looking absolutely amazing, and Saul managed to upstage her with that look.
Mm-hmm. Wow. Yeah, that was definitely a flex by Saul.
It was. He was looking. Teeny's face seeing Saul walk in. Damn, he's like 40. He's 45, 44, something like that. It's like, damn.
Oh, Sue is 45.
That's right. I always forget.
You're mixing it up.
I always forget that. Trevor Eisenhower, I appreciate this. Your viewer count is increasing week to week. Great commentary and a great season. Great job, guys. Thank you so much, Trevor. Everybody who's still here, like this video, subscribe to the channel. But I'm going to jump into some other things real quick because I think it's important to get our update here. Under 2.5 people played their shot in the dark. So we had our 4th over-under prop settle tonight. We have 4 endurance challenges now, so we only need 2 more for the remainder of the game. We had our first person hit 60 confessionals. We need 4 more for that.
Who is it?
To hit. It was Sam. Sam is leading the way.
Sam is the leader in confessionals. Yeah. We should have done a guess. I would not have guessed Sam.
Who would you have guessed?
Good question. It's like Rome was such a focal point, and then Saul. I would have guessed. I would have guessed Teeny, just because it seems like we always hear from her.
Teeny's tied for 3rd.
Okay, who's second?
Well, actually, Gabe went home tonight, so he should still count. It was Sam at 62. Gabe has 52, and there's another person. Then Teeny was tied. I can't believe
Rachel.
Rachel is tied with Teeny. Come on, there's somebody.
Is it Genevieve?
No, there's somebody above Teeny and Rachel, but below Sam and Gabe.
And not in the game, Rome.
No, they're still in the game.
Oh, they're still in the game.
It's Andy. Come on, dude.
Oh, Andy. I forgot about Andy.
Dude, I'm telling you, you're over here trying to prove your point, and then he goes and does that. So that's our first person. We got another backstory montage, but that's not even going to come close to 10. So that's going to be an under. I think that's only our third one of the season. Got a sanctuary. Even though Caroline said where good things happen, that's not a thing. I refuse to make that a thing. Votes lost throughout the season. I think we're only at 3, so that's still low. So I just wanted to update on those. In terms of what Gabe accomplished, he got 9 votes. So he doesn't hit the 10 or more. He doesn't hit 5 or fewer. He got a hidden immunity idol. He won individual immunity, made the jury. He got a confessional in every episode. He got more than 40 confessionals in the season, and he got more than 10 confessionals in an episode.
There you
Boom.
go.
There you go. That's everything for him. Andy had the episode title again, his 3rd one in a row.
It's all lining up Andy here. Confessional beast. I feel like just for some reason, I don't know why, it doesn't jump to me as the confessional king. But I mean, his confessionals are good. It just doesn't feel like he's being jammed down our throats. Are other people feeling that Andy, we're getting too much of him? He doesn't feel over the top.
I don't feel like he's over the top either. No, I don't either.
Yeah. Like Rome at some points was like, okay, this is like a lot from one person.
Mm-hmm.
But it doesn't feel that way with Andy.
I mean, Rome averaged 6.33 per episode. Asia had 6.67, but that's because Asia in episode 1 did the thing with TK. Mm-hmm. But Rome's average is higher than anybody remaining in the game, including Sam. So I get that. I'm going to be live tomorrow at 7 p.m. with Blake and Brandon Donlin as we dig deeper into this episode. If you missed Brandon's episode with us last season, you get a redo. It's going to be great. Brandon's one of my favorite guests, so that'll be good. If you haven't checked out my Todd episode, go listen to it just for the sake. I know it's a predictions for this episode, but Todd starts getting into season 50 stuff at the end. I love Todd. Todd's amazing.
Very cool that you were able to do that.
That was a little surreal. It was a little weird. And like, even as I'm talking to him, I'm trying not to keep telling him how weird it was for me to be like sitting there talking to literally like a teenage hero of mine. So that was fun. If I get Courtney Yates on the podcast, I think I'd lose my damn mind because she's like a little notch ahead of Todd, not much. But if I could barely hold it together with Todd, I don't know what I'm going to do if Courtney's ever on the podcast. So probably just start crying halfway through. But anyway, become a patron, patreon.com/thespecialist. We're actually up to 199 people who are patrons of ours. That doesn't mean they're all paid patrons. So I don't know what the ones who aren't paid patrons are doing because we don't give anything out to the people who don't pay. But I guess it's nice because you can check in every now and then. But hey, maybe we get a couple patrons here. Maybe we get another one after tonight, even if it's free one. And that gets us to 200 patrons. And that just looks good, right? So let's get us to 200 patrons. Let's subscribe to the channel and get us to 11,000 subscribers.
Would be awesome. Yeah, that would be good. We're doing like, man, I'm only on this channel once a week recapping. I feel like I'm over on the Patreon. Just
the Patreon's crazy.
Nonstop.
I mean, me and Blake podcasted right before tonight so we could do casting perspective. We got Panama stuff all week. I already recorded my Australia podcast for Friday. I mean, we're cruising. We're clicking. I mean, it's a good time over there.
Yep.
So check it out. Otherwise, thank you all so much for listening. Hope you enjoyed this episode. And I'll see you tomorrow night with Brandon Donlin.
See ya.